Welcome to a special segment of the Evo India News. Now, usually we wrap up the news at the end of the week, put out this segment on Friday evening, but we couldn't wait because just now a packet landed up at our doorstep. A very Cold War-ish feel, a brown paper envelope, top secret marked on it, and inside that 15 images along with an anonymous note. So now we don't know who sent us these images. We will dive into that later on. But for now, we're focusing our energies into those images. 15 images of what is the new Harley-Davidson motorcycle for India. Now, the whole Harley-Davidson Hero MotoCorp partnership, it's obvious that that partnership is designed for an Indian motorcycle. A motorcycle to take on the likes of the Royal Enfield Classic, the Jawa, the H'ness, even the upcoming Triumph that Bajaj has been working on. This is now finally ready. These images, at least from the look of it, it looks like it has been taken during a dealer meet because I recognize a lot of the faces out there in those images, and these images give us the clearest indication yet of Harley-Davidson's big play at volumes in the Indian market. Also, Hero MotoCorp's big play at going premium. This is the biggest single that they have ever made. It is between 420 and 450cc. We will talk about that when we dive into it. But this is the biggest engine they've made. This will also go into future Hero MotoCorp products like the X-Pulse, obviously, where this engine has been tested. Again, we will talk about that later on. But for now, let's dive into the styling. And you look at these images. Let us know what you think about the styling of this motorcycle. Does it look like a true Harley? Drop it in the comments. And of course, I have to remind you, subscribe to the Evo India channel, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all our video drops. So let's start with this first image. I've got it here on my iPad also. This image, well, first things first, it looks like this bike really handles well. This is a nice cornering shot. As you can see, this has got a bit of a neo-retro style, but from insiders, I hear that this does not look retro. This looks like a Harley-Davidson, but more street fighter-ish. So a lot of muscle. The tank, if you notice, it has a bit of Nightster cues to it. Not exactly like it, but it has a bit of that street fighter-ish cues, that teardrop shape of the tank sitting on top of the tall engine. From the rear, I thought that it looks a bit like the Street 750, but insiders tell me off the record that it looks nothing like the Street 750. In fact, you place the Street against this new motorcycle and the two look completely different. Now the headlamp, you've got this LED strip, so obviously the headlamp is full LED, and in that strip, Harley-Davidson is written. Now this reminds me a bit of what TVS has done with the Ronin, so that's the cue probably taken from there. The Ronin is also a neo-retro motorcycle. Over at the rear, also you get an LED tail lamp, an oval-shaped LED tail lamp, which has a bit of Harley-Davidson cues to it. Round circular indicators with the bar and shield logo on them. What doesn't look like a Harley is the size of the rear tire. All Harleys have got this big fat rear tire, but obviously it makes zero sense to have a single cylinder engine and a big fat rear tire. The bike is not going to turn, it's going to affect performance, it's going to affect fuel efficiency. So obviously they've right-sized the tire, but yeah, it doesn't look like a Harley from the rear. In fact, the front looks a little bit more bulky than the rear. The tires, these are Seat tires. 17-inch tires at the rear, 18-inch at the front. Now, 18 at the front, I'm not sure why. Maybe it is to deal with Indian road conditions, the potholes, the speed breakers. Probably it will result in a better ride quality and better handling. Now, all of that we'll have to wait and watch until we finally get astride the motorcycle. Like I said, this is all conjecture. What you can notice is alloy wheels. So again, that's a hint that this is not going to be a purely retro style motorcycle. It'll be street fighter-ish. The alloy wheels are also a giveaway that these are going to be tubeless tires. So that is a good thing. It'll also aid with the handling and also ease of turning the motorcycle. Now, instrumentation. This is a digital cluster. It's a single round pod, but it is a digital cluster. It is marked up to 8,000 RPM. So it'll probably rev to 8, maybe 9,000 RPM. We'll talk about the engine in a bit. Like I said, what I also hear is that it's going to have a lot of connectivity. So via Bluetooth, you can connect your phone to the cluster. You can personalize the message. So it probably say, "Good morning, Sirish," when you start up the motorcycle. You can also connect your music to it and probably maps, like what Royal Enfield is doing with their Trip app on the Royal Enfield motorcycles. This motorcycle is going to target the Classic 350. That is the obvious rival. Classic 350, then you'll have all the other players, the H'ness from Honda and all the other variants on it. You'll have the Jawa and all those variants. You'll have the Triumph that is coming up very soon from Bajaj. And of course, the other motorcycles, the Ronin, we already mentioned that. That also will be taking on this motorcycle. So that field is actually packed. There are a lot of players, but that is a segment that is really growing, and that is a segment where Harley-Davidson has heritage. Their heritage are cruisers. This is going to play on that heritage, and I think that is a sensible move. In terms of size, now you can see Dr. Munjal, who's standing next to the motorcycle, and the bike does look big. If you swipe to the other images, on the left, the tall guy, that's Srini, that's the Bangalore Harley-Davidson dealer. He's 6'1", he's a tall guy, and the bike does not really look small next to him. And in fact, the other guys, they are 5'8", and this bike looks as tall as they are. But I also hear that the bike, even though it feels substantial, it is not too tall. So even 5'6", 5'7" guys can get their feet down. So it is going to be easily maneuverable. Again, conjecture. Ergonomics. Now, in this image, which is sort of masked by those trees on the track, it looks like the rider has got a good blend of sporty as well as relaxed. He seems to be sitting relatively upright, rather wide bars, mid-mounted foot controls, should be good for cruising, should be similar to what Royal Enfield does, because that obviously is the template for these kind of things. Now, these pictures, all the guys in the office have also gone through it, and some of them pointed out that the exhaust design, they don't seem to like that too much. Now, again, styling is personal. What you like, I might not like, and vice versa. So you let us know what you think about the styling. But on the exhaust front, what I hear is that the bike has been tuned to sound like a proper Harley-Davidson. In fact, one of the guys told me that you probably would not need a Screaming Eagle exhaust, because this really sounds good. That exhaust tuning, that sound, the beat, that has been done to sound properly like a Harley-Davidson. I'm really keen to finally listen to what that exhaust sounds like, and maybe that's the reason why the engine, it is not liquid cooled. So it is an air cooled engine with an oil cooler. You can see that oil cooler in the images. The engine will also be styled to look like a Harley-Davidson. I know that Harley-Davidson puts a lot of effort into styling the engine also to make it really look authentic. I'm sure this will look really cool in terms of the styling. What do we know about the engine? Now, this is a brand new engine that Hero MotoCorp have been working on for quite some time. In fact, this engine in prototype form has been used in Indian rallying. In the X-Pulse, this engine has been used. The capacity would probably be around 422 cc's. They're saying 420 to 450, but I suspect around 420, 430 cc. The Hero engine might be liquid cooled to gain a little bit more power out of this. What we suspect is that this engine will make something in the region of 30 horsepower. So that should make it quick. In comparison, the Classic makes around 20.5 horsepower. So there is a big jump in power. And what we do here is that in a drag race, if you line up all these bikes, the Harley will be the one that will go ahead. Obviously, it has an advantage of capacity. There is no replacement for displacement, goes that old American adage, and that will apply to this motorcycle. Unfortunately, we don't know what this motorcycle is called. We don't know the name. So that's why we're keeping on calling it the Harley Indian motorcycle. But yeah, no idea about what the name will be. What do you think the name should be? Let us know in the comments. It'll be interesting to see your comments and listen to what you want the bike to be called. Other bits of conjecture, 6-speed gearbox, that is obvious, right? You can't have a 5-speed gearbox in this day and age. Will it have a slipper clutch? I don't think it really needs to have a slipper clutch. In terms of electronics, well, it does make a little bit more power than the Royal Enfield Classic, but I don't think it makes so much power that will need so many electronics to rein all that in. It might have a rain mode like what TVS is doing, but I think that's going to be the extent of the electronics on the bike. Obviously, this has to be priced aggressively, and what we suspect is that this will be priced in the region of 2.5 lakh rupees. So it'll be bang in between the Classic 350 and the 310s. So right between there, but leaning closer to the Royal Enfield. And if they can do that, that will be a really aggressive price point for this new motorcycle. It will really appeal to a wider audience, and of course a Harley-Davidson that is premium in a lot of people's eyes. So definitely it has that cachet associated with it, and if they don't charge too much of a premium for that name, and I don't see a reason why they should charge too much of a premium, because this motorcycle is completely done here in India. The engine, like I said, is purely Hero MotoCorp. The frame, that also is purely Hero MotoCorp. The entire engineering, the R&D, the styling has probably been done by Harley-Davidson back in the US. But apart from that, all the proper engineering, testing, validation, everything, and manufacturing completely done here. So pricing it aggressively should be par for the cost for this motorcycle. It should be the obvious thing to do. Another strong sentiment that I am hearing is that this engine has a lot of low down grunt. So you gas it out of a corner, and even if you are in a higher gear, it pulls beautifully. Also, they've been talking about the refinement and how it is one step up from the Royal Enfield. The Royal Enfield has got the new J series platform, so that engine is refined. Nobody's really criticized it for refinement, but they're saying that this is one step up on it. Well, let us wait and watch. Let us finally ride the bike and let us see, because now obviously there's a lot of excitement around it. So probably you have to take these comments with a pinch of salt, but I'm sure they have benchmarked it really aggressively against the existing ballpark, and they'll have to move the game on if they have to draw customers away from the existing motorcycle park. Now, talking about the chassis, from these images, it is really hard to make out what exactly it is, but I'm sure this is some sort of a tubular frame that is hanging off upside down front forks and a gas charged twin shock setup at the rear. Now, Harley and Hero, they have opted for a twin shock setup instead of a single monoshock, obviously to keep costs in check, and bikes like these don't really need a monoshock at the rear. Now, just to take a quick diversion from what we're talking about, last month Harley-Davidson showcased their smallest motorcycle yet, and some people did speculate that this is the Hero Harley that's coming to India, but we said clearly that this is not it, because that is something that is made by QJ Motors. It's based on the SRK 350, and that is an entry-level bike, but that's not coming to India. There are no plans for it. This will be the bike for India. This will also be exported out of India to a number of countries. For instance, South America, Latin America, that would be a great market for it. Southeast Asia. So the export potential for this is huge. And Bajaj, with what they've done with KTM, TVS, what they've done with BMW Motorrad, they've showcased that you can manufacture motorcycles here in India, you can export it all over the world, and it will be well received. And of course, Royal Enfield has been doing that for the longest time, and Royal Enfield motorcycles all over the world, they really are taken very seriously, and they have a very, very strong market. So this is a market that they can tap, not just in India, but all over the world. Finally, availability. When are you going to be able to buy this motorcycle? We hear between July and August, the wraps will be finally off the motorcycle. We'll see the final production version. In fact, these pictures are more or less of the final production version. It's only some final fine-tuning that is being done, but otherwise it's more or less signed off and it's ready for production. So July, August is when we will see it. And just before Diwali, you will be able to put your money down and buy this motorcycle. Pricing, like we said, between the Classic 350 and the 310s, closer to the Classic 350. So that should be an aggressive price point. Also, by then, we will probably have some more news about the baby Triumph that Bajaj is working on. So this segment is getting super heated. Also, this segment is perfectly suited to our Indian conditions, our Indian roads, and also the price points that we spend on motorcycles. More massish motorcycles, mass premium as we put it. So that is a real solid market that Harley-Davidson is trying to tap into. And this motorcycle, well, it should do really well for them. And of course, this is not going to be just one motorcycle. Nobody just makes one motorcycle and lets it be. This is going to be the platform from which a lot of variants are going to be spawned off. So you'll probably have a cruiser, you'll have a flat track version. Does Harley-Davidson make cafe racers? Maybe you'll see a cafe racer, maybe you'll see a scrambler. So a lot of variants of this platform. Also, this engine will have a whole lot of variants from the Hero MotoCorp stable. So all round good news for us biking enthusiasts. Karan out there, he's also pointing out that you might have a baby Pan America of this platform. So like the X-Pulse 420, 430, a baby Pan America. That will also be really cool. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments. Will you buy a smaller Harley-Davidson? And what is it going to do for Harley-Davidson / Hero MotoCorp's business in India? Let us know in the comments. And as always, we are always open to hearing our suggestions. If you have any more feedback from us, drop it below and we will get back to you. And don't forget to stay subscribed to the Evo India channel and hit that bell notification for all our video drops, because tomorrow we have another special episode coming at you, because news has just broken of the global NCAP crash safety ratings, where Skoda and Volkswagen both have scored full 5 stars with the Slavia and Virtus. So both the sedans of the India 2.0 project both have scored full 5 stars. That is really a massive achievement and a great move for the Safer Cars for India movement.